Hello everyone, how you going? Welcome back to some more Heritage Minutes. Now we just keep checking these out and because honestly they just are incredible and so I just want to learn more and I always do. So we're going to be starting out with Nellie McClung.
I don't understand why women want to vote.
Oh, really?
The first time Nellie McClung saw the Premier about votes for women,
Things are changing. Good day, sir.
it didn't go too well for McClung.
Take it from me, Mrs. McClung. Nice women don't want the vote.
So then she staged a mock parliament attacking votes for men.
Think what would happen if we actually allowed men to vote. Why, they would become obsessed with politics. Politics are like drinks. Once you start, if men started voting, families would be disrupted. Divorces would follow. Madam Speaker, take it from me. Nice men don't want the vote.
After a long campaign, Manitoba's women became the first to get the provincial vote. The next time they met, in a polling station, it didn't go too well for the Premier.
Premier Roblin, I'm sure you don't want your photograph taken with a woman who's not nice.
There we go.
Gentlemen.
Well then, we started off with a bang, haven't we here? Now this certainly doesn't get much more powerful than that, just a woman that went after exactly what she wanted, I guess, in that case. Obviously she was a very horrible person for wanting such things. Like you said, nice women wouldn't ever want to do this. Just get out of here, you sleazebag. But that's an incredible thing that she obviously just went, no, this is just not going to be how it's going to be happening anymore. We're actually going to get the vote. And it took, I guess, 3 years, it seemed to say. Where is it? 3 years later. And it sounded like she might have even ran for the vote. Or perhaps it was just the fact that she got it into the entire system, not that she was actually running for vote. Either way, where is he? This guy right here just would have been feeling so horrible. Actually, he probably wouldn't, but either way, you certainly should feel horrible or just very bad about the entire situation, considering the fact you went, no, you would never ever want that, and then just to turn around 3 years later and have it just shoved back in your face like that. It definitely takes a very special kind of person, aka right here and present, right here as well, and here and here and there. But even the fact that she held like an entire meeting and kind of, I guess, sarcastically addressed the entire, I don't even know exactly what they say. What did she say?
So then she staged a mock parliament attacking votes for men.
A mock something. It sounds like crowlement is phonetically what I'm hearing, and I don't know what that word means, or I don't know what it is in relation to. I can only assume it's some kind of presentation speech if you're running for vote or whatnot. Either way, obviously, they all look very into it, and she definitely presented it well in terms of just kind of taking the right side in terms of when you're trying to address what your point is. I mean, it definitely does sound like a little bit of an eye for an eye, or if nothing else, just very, very petty in regard. But I feel as though for the time period, there wasn't any other way for women to kind of just get their say out there. And so, no, I absolutely applaud her for doing exactly that. And I mean, I do wish that I had a few more details surrounding the entire context of it. I mean, it obviously seems to be, where was it? Winnipeg, I believe. I saw 1914. Wow, that is very early in the grand scheme of things. But let's just see. They said that she got it in somewhere.
After a long campaign, Manitoba's women became the first to get the provincial vote.
There we go. So I guess it was Manitoba, which I will admit I don't actually know where that is, but it took 3 years, which in the grand scheme of things is a very short amount of time. So I can only imagine that rally, and I guess I can only imagine that there were a few rallies within that kind of span of 3 years. But either way, those 3 years were very productive years where I guess you just managed to stick to her guns and just absolutely went after it and ended up getting exactly what she wanted. And on top of that, I can only assume that it would have caused kind of a domino effect for the rest of the country. Starting with Manitoba, I would imagine that's a city, or maybe, I don't think, no, it's definitely not a state. So I can only assume that it is a city, but did it then just kind of sprawl out from there until it encompassed all of Canada? I don't know, maybe you can tell me, but either way, just good on her for sticking to her guns, like I said, and just being the first one, because it just takes one, and then you get some very, very rapid change for the better in this regard. Anyway, moving on to our next one, we have Orphans.
Molly Johnson.
In the 1850s, many Quebec families adopted Irish orphans, their parents dead of ship's fever on the Atlantic crossing.
Alors Molly, voici ton nouveau père et ta nouvelle mère. Dorénavant, tu porteras le nom fier et historique de Bélanger. Tu es maintenant une petite Canadienne, Molly.
No, we have to keep our Irish name. Mon mère me l'a dit juste avant le serment. We have to pour la mémoire de mon patrie.
Ça, monseigneur, ça me paraît tout à fait acceptable.
Quel est ton nom, mon enfant?
Johnson, Sir Molly Johnson.
Et comment t'appelles-tu, toi?
Patrick O'Neill.
Et toi?
Kathleen Ryan.
Bien, bien.
A century and a half later, many of those names still resound in Quebec.
Wow. Alrighty then, well I had no idea what I was going to be walking into with a title like Orphans. I was unsure if it was going to be an orphanage setup or what it was going to be, but I definitely did not expect it to be kind of about the Irish in some ways, and to be honest that is kind of a little bit of a confusing thing for me because I'm not entirely sure why the Irish were going over. I mean, they did say they were coming over on boats and they were dying of ship fever. What was it exactly?
Their parents dead of ship's fever on the
ship's fever. Ship fever, an old name for epidemic typhus, which was common in crowded conditions aboard a ship. Okay, so I can understand how that would make sense in terms of, I guess it's just a general bacterial infestation or whatever aboard the ship, because as everyone knows, just traveling aboard a ship throughout any time in history has generally never been the most sanitary conditions, so to say. But I still don't fully understand why the Irish were coming over in such, I guess, large numbers for them to be such a massive kind of part of history. I mean, in saying that, considering I'm fairly sure they said it was the 1850s, I guess it's certainly a good thing that these children were adopted into hopefully loving homes overall. You know, coming all the way from Ireland over to Quebec, Canada, just would have made a massive change for the 1850s. You know, people didn't really move around in the same way that people do now. I mean, currently maybe not so much, but recently in comparison to the 1850s, people have just been moving around willy-nilly. Wherever they want to go, they just go. And especially coming all the way from Ireland into a French-speaking part of the world, you'd just be thrown in the absolute deep end. And so to be able to keep your last name, I can only imagine would be such a meaningful thing to do, and I don't know who it really came from. I mean, this video seemed to say it was coming from the children, but I don't really feel as though the children would have had that kind of say. I mean, maybe they just kind of fought for it by their own regards and everyone agreed, but really there are plenty times throughout history where things like that have just not happened, and so it could have very easily gone the other way. And so it's a pretty impressive kind of thing that Canada managed to do in that regard, or just even not managed to do but did for these kids, because really these kids have already lost everything. They've lost their parents, their family, their home, their country, and now just to lose their last name as well, the last thing that they might have been able to hold on to would have been the icing on the cake. And so I'm glad that they were able to do it, and so good on everyone that just enabled these kids to do it. And even the fact that they're now kind of quite common names is actually pretty impressive as well, you know. I mean, I guess in some ways it does mean that there are a lot of orphans for it to be a common name, but at the same time I just have to give commendations to Canada just for allowing these kids to just keep that one little bit of their entire family's history. But anyway, moving on to our third one, which will hopefully be a lighter note, we have water pump.
Daniel, haben Großvater und ich haben genau das Gleiche gemacht. Das hat meine Pflichten viel leichter gemacht.
Was ist denn?
Wasser, die Lebensquelle ist Land.
Ottawa asks us to design a pump for the third world.
International development said lightweight, rust-proof, so simple you could fix it with a rubber band and a bent nail. I said, with today's technology, no problem. Ha!
Well, maybe today's technology is the problem. So?
It was in our own backyard. Mennonite resourcefulness, hey.
She says you Canadians have such modern ideas.
Tell her it's really a very old idea.
Well, I guess I certainly got what I asked for, because being able to give water to, I can only assume, a whole bundle of African countries is what they're kind of getting at here, is certainly a pretty impressive thing. And so to go and design a new pump system, when was that? Yeah, Ontario 1899. I mean, I guess that's certainly just a thing, but they went, hang on a second, we can use steel, we can use these, it has to be rust proof and all these things. And they go, hang on a second, how about we just get rid of the metal? That solves the rust problem. And then by going back to, there we go, just making kind of a more, I guess, ancient technology in terms of just getting rid of the metals and just using whatever else they had, they just went back to wood, which is easily replaceable in terms of if you have a tree, you can kind of form it and just use it. But either way, it's actually just an ancient technology, just using a water pump. And so well done to these designers and engineers. I wonder who kind of had that contract. Was it the government? Was it engineers? Or just who actually just went about just making this entire water pump? Because I can only imagine it's like a humanitarian crisis, so everyone should just be on board to try and help out. But really, I'm just so inspired by these guys, because they just went, what if today's modern technology is the problem? That's incredible. You know, you can go all these blueprints. I mean, obviously it's a 1980s, but really in the modern day situation, you might just be in CAD, just kind of in the grey screen, just like lost in there for hours and hours trying to render the perfect thing, going, oh, this isn't going to rust, this will never break, we're going to make it so strong that you can never break it. But really, that's just impossible realistically. And so then you just go, hang on a second, how about we just take away the fact that we don't try and make it unbreakable, we just try and make it replaceable, I guess. And that is probably a way of thinking that could be applied to a lot of things these days. You know, even even though we don't want to be kind of consumerism, you know, you do want to be making things that last, but at the same time, for things like this, especially in those kind of circumstances in African places where there might just not be resources that otherwise modern kind of Western societies might have, really, you just have to be thinking a little bit out of the box. Go, hang on a second, like I said, just no more metals, no more rubber seals or any fancy things like that. No, you actually just come back here, you design the entire thing out of wood, which can just either be chopped, whittled, or whatever it needs to be done, and then just easily replaced. So that is very, very impressive. And so I'd like to know how many of these water pumps have actually been dispersed throughout all of Africa, it seems to be, because I can only imagine that them making a water pump would have helped literally millions and millions and millions of people. But anyway, now moving on to our fourth and final one, we have, I guess it's kind of unpronounceable for me, but that one right there.
Messieurs, it's not over. You still have the last score to do, so please take it. We're now going to rehearse the crowning touch for the Saint Jean-Baptiste Day. This score has just been composed especially for the event, so please, gentlemen. Messieurs, start over.
Oh, jeez, okay.
Gentlemen, this piece deserves better. And the authors are Canadian like us, so please, gentlemen.
The Regimental Band of Les Voltigeurs.
Bravo, gentlemen.
They gave the first public performance of a new piece by Calix à la Vallée and Basil Rouchet in Quebec City on Saint Jean-Baptiste Day, 1880.
Well, alright, I can meet. I was about to take my headphones off for a second there because that was a horrendous performance for a while there, but obviously they cleaned their act up together in the end. I mean, I don't exactly have the context surrounding what he said at the end there. It was something to do with a particular score.
They gave the first public performance of a new piece by Calix à la Vallée and Basil Rouchet in Quebec City.
Yeah, I mean, all of that kind of means nothing to me. I don't know who those people are. I mean, I can understand where Quebec City is, but that's kind of the extent of it. I mean, I can definitely grasp that it's a big deal, and especially because it's a Heritage Minute. I understand that these are major components that virtually everyone knows, whether they know it through a Heritage Minute or whether they were brought up learning about it in school or whatever it may be. But either way, the fact that it was June 23rd, 1880, and they also said something about another day, which was Victory Day or something.
The crowning touch for the Saint Jean-Baptiste Day.
Yeah, I don't know what that is, so there's a lot of contextual things that I'm missing here, and a lot of days and performances even, and people's names that I don't know about, and so hopefully people will be able to fill me in. But to be honest, I guess one of my favourite parts was at the start here where they go, yes, sweet, they acted like a bunch of, I don't know, Year 7 kids. The bell rang and they were out that door, and the teacher went, no, you still have more work to do, and they went, oh, and then they come back here and do, where is it? This right here, like, it's such a poor performance. They're just trying to get out and to get everyone to just go, oh god, no, you're not going to be performing this. But then the guy goes, come on everyone, you have to do your work, and then they put their heads down and did it. I mean, I guess going back to the fact that I can understand that this would be a massive deal in terms of the fact that it was written just for a particular day by obviously famous composer, and I guess considering that they said it was the first or original performance of this entire thing, definitely leads me to kind of assume that there has been many performances of this entire piece, and I can only imagine it's kind of a national anthem or something like that. Because as I said, with this video in particular, but honestly with every single Heritage Minute that I watch, I am always missing a few things that just kind of make me go, I question this and question that, where everyone else goes, oh, how the hell do you not know? It's just because I do not know, as simple as that. However, considering the fact that, like I've said before, every single one of these Heritage Minutes that I check out is just ones that have been recommended by you guys, I can only assume that these are just, well, a band that went on to do great things, whether they were known for this one particular piece that they ended up doing and performing, or whether it was another piece, or they had a multitude of things I do not know, and I'm not sure you guys will let me know. Either way, considering the fact that I knew absolutely nothing about these guys and now I just know something about them, it just shows a little bit of progress if nothing else. But anyway, in saying that, I reckon I'm going to call it there. So thank you for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, feel free to do the YouTube algorithmic things down below. Also, if this is the first video I'm there watching, then make sure to check out just any of the other Heritage Minutes or just really any of the other international videos that I've done, and also make sure to check out just all the original videos in the description below, or hey, maybe even just want to consider subscribing so that you don't miss another one of these in the future. But all in all, have a good one and see ya.